Good afternoon, everyone. This is I am Tony Dottino, doing my Live with Tony series. And it is Saturday afternoon, and we are in Orlando, Florida. I live in Windermere, and we're now watching for the hurricane, and I won't even attempt to pronounce the name of the hurricane, so I guess I need to practice on names and faces and what the names of this hurricane is. It seems to be coming towards the Florida coast, and we're getting all kinds of notices on preparedness. So that's where we are, but I want to finish a series that I started this past week. That was coming from a book, John Robbins, on the Healthy 100. That was interviewing the experts, and we talk about the experts. He went back in and talked to people that are living to be 100 years old and finding out what their life lessons were. And I just found it fascinating in terms of reading through the article on learning to age well, what the people that have lived to be 100 were finding. And I just wanted to finish that up in terms of our brain health and mental capacity and how we can make changes in our lifestyle and our habits that can make a difference. So that's what I wanted to finish with today. And so the last part of this that I wanted to touch on was the importance of resilience. And it is believed to play a major role in the overall well-being of the according to the American Academy of Family Physicians. And based on the American Academy of Family Physicians, resilient people better cope with the stress that we have in our lives, which we all have. I always remember years ago, Norman Vincent Peale, listening to one of his recordings. If you want to find people without problems or stress, visit a cemetery. And that's not where you want to go, because they have no more problems because they're not alive. Unfortunately, during this whole COVID-19, that's been a challenge on how do we stay well and remember the things we need to do to stay safe and remain healthy. But it's how do we handle resilience? How do we handle the stresses and have resilience in our lives? And so what they went on to say is that they have strengthened strategies to do this. So they're being very mindful of, yes, we have stress in our life, we have challenges that we're trying to deal with, but they want to be mindful, and they want to be aware, self-aware of where their bodies are, where their stress levels are, and what they can do. And this happens to marry and match to a number of things that we've been talking about on my Live with Tony series and what I put out. So what would you think of your own stress levels? So if I wanted to put that out to my audience and say, so how do you identify your own stress levels, and what are some things that you do to build resiliency in your life? Now, resiliency is, so how do you handle the stress? So you kind of shortstop, you stop it, you time it out, and you don't let it build into anxiety, and you don't let it build into more of a permanent thought process, that as you listen to the daily news, as you go about your life's activities, and you get hit with things that cause you to feel the stress levels, what are some things that you can do immediately to stop it in its tracks and begin to shift, as we left in our last broadcast, your gig? Garbage in, garbage will grow. The stress levels can grow if you don't stop it and begin to think about what are some things you could do to put it into a more positive direction, so that you change the gig from garbage in, garbage grows, to good in and good grows. So what are some things that can help you to do that? And the first thing they talk about, we've discussed this, is where's your social support network? Who's your buddy? Who's somebody you can talk to? And I always remember doing work for British Airways a good number of years ago, when we said, who's your buddy when you're going out to make sales calls? And it was interesting, as I talked to the different sales groups across the country, we'd go out to each of the sales orgs, and of course, no one ever thought about who's your buddy when you go out and make sales calls, because it's like, well, you go out and you make your call, and you go out and make your call, and I suggested to him that we create a buddy system, and at least once a week go out and make sales calls with a buddy, and that you have two people making a sales call on some of the major prospects and some of the major business clients they had. And what a difference it made. So having some social support, somebody that is what I call your eyes and ears, that can sit in an objective position and observe a dialogue that was going on, was amazing. So who's in your life that as you observe, you read news, you hear news, now we're talking hurricane, who can you lean on? Who's somebody you can just pick up the phone and vent with or just talk with that can help you deal with we've got now something else to deal with, families, jobs. There's certainly enough that I keep reading about, and article after article that just keeps talking about the challenges that we're facing right now. And with no end in sight, we're obviously then giving up a level of control, and uncertainty is just gnawing at us day by day by day. And as we listen for news, and as we go through it, and I'm reading all these different magazines and newsletters and health things, boy, this is just getting at us and getting at us, and where is the end? So the first thing is, who's your buddy? Do you feel comfortable to talk with? Hopefully it's somebody that you live with, and you can give them a hug, and you can look at them and sit down and have conversations. I know with my other half, I sit down, we try to do at least 10 minutes once a day. Maybe it's after dinner. We just sit in our back, on our back lanai, and we just, what's going on up here? What are you thinking right now? What feelings are going through your body that you can at least begin to recognize and become aware of? So resilience, it's all about resilience, and what can we do to do that? The next thing is, how do we keep ourselves in a positive view of things? And I just shared with you, how do you know what your gig is? And how do you keep your gig focused on what are some things that are good that are going on? And boy, this is where today we may not have to be looking for big, giant, wonderful things happening, but can we find some small things that are going on? We think about it, and as we recap our days, we know we can go pick up food at curb pickup, and we order online, and we go park in a space at the grocery store, and we have a call in and tell them what space we're in, and somebody walks out and tells us we had any substitutions, and then drop the groceries in the trunk, and off we go. So that's a good service that's provided by Walmart. And it's like, whoa, who would ever think that Walmart could rise to such an occasion? And I guess, somebody at Walmart's had a creative process and helps you to navigate and deal with that. So that's a thing we have. So we have food. I mean, that's an important thing for us. We have food, and we are grateful that we're changing our diets, and we've improved our dietary habits and things of that sort. So these are the little things that you can find about in your life that you want to start to encode, you want to start to put them into your memories, that you can begin to build into your memory and build some resilience of things that you do have that are working for you. And certainly nutritional habits are a second thing that we want to make sure. Are we eating the right foods? Are we getting the right proteins? Are we getting the right mix of carbos and proteins and fats? And this is a time when I say we should be living well, because we can control our breakfast, lunch, and dinner in terms of not, unfortunately, we're not going out as much and eating in restaurants. So keeping a positive view. And the hard part for all of us, I think, may be accepting change. So resilience is a matter of, as change is coming about us, how are we accepting some of them, and how can we control and take some routines and some disciplines back into, so what are some things that we can control in our life, and what are some of the changes that are taking place that are beyond our control? So there's no point of bouncing your head against a brick wall and banging it and trying to say, how am I going to stop COVID-19, or how am I going to stop a hurricane? Learn what you can about these things, and then say, okay, what are some of the elements that I can control? Well, we can certainly control where we go in our cars, or where we take walks, or where we do our exercise. All good things for our brain health and physical beings. But we can do those safely versus what are some things that we're not going to be able to control. So as we look at this storm that's going to come up along the east coast of the United States, what are some things that we can be proactive about and be resilient in terms of what we can deal with? And do we have food? Do we have water? Do we have a backup for things that we may lose power? And I hate to tell this to everybody, but you want to go out and have gasoline in your car if you need to jump in your car and go somewhere. So these are some of the strategies that have keeping things in perspective. And then they also warn that poor emotional health, if the price is what I would say to people, do you understand what the price you're paying if you're not in that mode of accepting and recognizing, okay, I'm in this stress mode, what are some things I can do to build some resilience? Because the price that you pay, and the research they're saying is, you impact your own personal immunity system. And now you're more susceptible to illnesses and diseases, and this is not the time where you want to be breaking down your immune systems. So those are some of the things that I keep reading about, and I keep talking about in a Life with Tony, and I'm hoping that as I share these things with my Life with Tony audience on Facebook, and we're now talking about putting things on Instagram and YouTubes and things of that sort, and doing some podcast activities, that some of the messaging is getting out, because the thing that keeps me going and keeps me wanting to do these broadcasts is, can I make a difference in one person's life each broadcast? Can I touch one person with something I say, something I suggest they may do that can make a difference in their life? And if I can get one person every day, and they can go out and affect one person in their lives, then it makes these broadcasts totally worth doing, and that's what keeps me inspired and creative and thinking about what do I do that I can say to people that can make a difference. Today is mail day. I go at the end of the postal closing. It's mail day. I hop in the car, go to the post office box. No one is there on Saturday evening in the P.O. box area, and I read on Sunday. So next week we'll be looking at today and tomorrow's reading, and we'll pick up some new series of Live with Tony and how we can impact our mental capacity and our mental health. Stay well over the weekend. I'm kind of happy some baseball's back on. I enjoy watching it, and hopefully the Yankees will beat the Red Sox again today.